Hi. Our church council met on Wednesday night to discuss our church's plan for reopening, and some of what we talked about centered on what's most important to us as a church community. You might know that there are some churches that have decided that because of how strict all of the restrictions and guidelines are, these churches have decided they're going to continue doing online worship for the time being until they're able to be more free. But we concluded as a council that it's very important for us to gather for worship. And in fact, we decided we're willing to make some sacrifices in order to make gathering for worship a reality.
According to the best information that the experts have right now, gathering indoors for something like worship is risky for a number of reasons. That's why the guidelines that have been put out suggest no singing indoors, only 25% capacity of the building, and then rigorous cleaning and sanitizing following the gathering for worship.
As we looked at the guidelines, it became clearer and clearer to all of the members of the council that if we chose to gather outdoors, we would be able to worship and feel a lot more free to worship as we see fit. And so we really want to emphasize in this video one important thing, and that is that gathering in any way carries risk. So we can't promise you as church leadership that if you come to church, it's going to be a perfectly sterile environment and that there's no chance anyone will ever contract the virus. As I said, gathering in any way carries risk. And so if you're concerned about your health, if you are in an at-risk category, we encourage you to continue staying home if you decide that's what's best for you, and we will make sure that the worship services are streaming online every Sunday morning. But in order to be able to worship as freely as possible, the council decided that we're going to try worshiping outdoors.
Now, I know that some of you want to hear that we're going to start this on Sunday, May 31st. But unfortunately, with all of the things that need to get done, even to worship outside at church, we feel as a council, there's just not enough time to get this all ready before Sunday. I wish we didn't feel compelled that we need to wait, but we have a strong desire that when we do gather for worship, we're going to gather for worship and we're going to do it well. We are going to start this experiment of outdoor worship on June 7th.
And we're going to do that for 2 weeks, June 7th and June 14th, and then we're going to reevaluate after that. And here's how it's going to work. When you arrive at church, you might have seen this actually in some news articles, some photos, aerial photos of what they did in parks in San Francisco over Memorial Day weekend. You're going to arrive at church and you're going to see some large painted circles on the lawn, and those circles will have 6-foot physical distance from the other circles. Go ahead and find a circle. There will be a few different sizes. Find one that fits the size of your family, and you might want to bring a lawn chair and maybe even a patio umbrella or some sort of shade. And if you bring a shade, go ahead and show up early so you have time to put it up. We'll also have some of those things available, chairs and some shade available for those of you who don't have that. But pick that circle and stay in that circle during worship.
It is important to remember that we're prioritizing what's most important here, that we gather for worship. We're choosing as a church to follow certain guidelines so that we can worship freely. Following these guidelines from the state and the local health departments, it does mean that there will be no children's activities. Children should stay in their circle with their family through the entire service. When we gather, we need to find our spots on the lawn and we need to stay there. And once we leave at the end of worship, we need to head straight to our cars and go home.
Someone pointed out in the council meeting when we were discussing that we're all going to be tempted to, when worship finishes, to start wandering around and hang out together and start closing those 6-foot physical distances like we usually do every Sunday. But we have to remember that because we're worshiping outside, it's going to be very obvious and very public what we're doing. And as free as you might feel, and whatever choices you might make to bend certain rules or ignore certain guidelines in your personal life, and as much as I might make some of those choices as well, when we gather as a church, we're not just gathering as individuals, we're not just representing ourselves, but we're representing the body of Christ. And it's going to be important for us to make sure that we're showing that we're respecting, especially the guidelines that we've chosen to follow.
Again, we're choosing as a church to follow a few rules and follow them well so that we can have that freedom, of that feeling of freedom of worshiping together.
And like we said, we're going to try this for 2 weeks, June 7th and June 14th, and then we will reevaluate after that. And I hope that this has kind of the feel of like a picnic in the park where we're all worshiping together.
Other people have asked about other events that happen at church, and for the time being, we are not going to be holding any of those events indoors either. In fact, we are also canceling our VBS for this summer.
So just to review, this coming Sunday, May 31st, I'm going to be preaching actually a live sermon with some recorded videos that people have done for different parts of the liturgy. So you can head to our YouTube channel at 9:30 Sunday morning for that. But the following Sunday, June 7th, is when we're going to begin worshiping outdoors, trying this experiment for 2 weeks, June 7th and June 14th. Bring a chair, bring maybe some shade if you have it. Show up, find a circle for you and any other family members you have with you, and stay in that circle. And then once worship concludes, you can certainly spend some time in that circle talking to people in nearby circles and chatting. But once you leave your circle, it's time to head to your car and head home.
We know you're excited about gathering together for worship, and we are as well. We look forward to seeing you on June 7th.
Goodbye.